By every official metric, the economy appears to be performing well. Unemployment hovers around 4%, job growth seems robust on the surface, and GDP continues to expand. Yet, if the fundamentals are truly this strong, why does it feel like the system is fraying at the edges? The reality is that the recession isn't looming on the horizon, it is already here. The official data simply hasn't caught up to our lived experience yet. Recessions are almost always identified in hindsight. The National Bureau of Economic Research does not declare a recession while it is unfolding. Instead, they wait 6 to 18 months, aggregate the finalized data, and then confirm a period of contraction that has already passed. For instance, the 2008 global financial crisis officially began in December 2007, but the NBER waited until December 2008 to acknowledge it, a full year later, by which time Lehman Brothers had collapsed and the global economy was in freefall. Similarly, the dot-com bubble recession of 2001 started in March but wasn't officially declared until November. This delay isn't a result of incompetence, it is a consequence of their methodology. The NBER requires comprehensive, verified data before making an official determination. This means you can be enduring a recession for months while the official narrative remains unchanged. That is exactly what we are seeing today. The unemployment rate sits at 4.4%, which sounds manageable at first glance. However, this figure is misleading. It only accounts for individuals actively seeking work, those who have applied for jobs within the last 4 weeks. Since the pandemic, over 1.6 million Americans have stopped looking for work entirely. These people have effectively vanished from the statistics. Similarly, labor force participation has dropped by nearly 1.5% compared to pre-pandemic levels. While headlines celebrate a strong labor market, the reality is a steady drift of people exiting the workforce. Furthermore, the quality of new jobs is declining. We are witnessing a quiet shift where stable, full-time positions are being replaced by part-time roles. Government data often masks this. If one full-time worker is laid off and takes 2 part-time gigs to make ends meet, the government records this as 2 new jobs created, reflecting net growth. Even with this statistical accounting, 2025 saw only 181,000 net new jobs. Consequently, 4.4 million Americans are working part-time involuntarily because they cannot find full-time employment. They are technically employed, but they are financially vulnerable. Full-time roles with benefits are being systematically replaced by multiple part-time positions that lack security. It is akin to claiming the housing market is healthy because people still have roofs over their heads, while ignoring the fact that everyone has been forced to move from houses into studio apartments. When you factor in that cumulative inflation has risen over 25% since 2020, the situation becomes even more precarious. A growing number of Americans can no longer keep up, and many are holding their lifestyles together with debt. This is not just spending for convenience, it is borrowing to cover basic necessities. It is a temporary fix creating a massive long-term problem.
Credit card debt reached a record $1.28 trillion by the end of 2025, with average interest rates hovering around 22%. Media reports may boast about strong consumer spending, but that spending is fueled by debt, not rising income. The personal savings rate tells a similar story. Historically, Americans saved about 8% of their income. That figure has now cratered to 4.5%. This is textbook pre-recession behavior. Households stretching themselves thin to maintain a standard of living while real income stagnates. We have seen this script before. In 2007, the media heralded strong consumer spending just before the collapse. Today's economy feels like it's operating on borrowed time. The leading economic index, designed specifically to forecast recessions, has declined for 6 consecutive months, the same pattern observed prior to the 2001 and 2008 downturns. The cracks are not limited to household wallets, they are spreading into the corporate sector. Commercial bankruptcies have risen by over 7% to more than 24,000 filings, the highest level in over a decade. Companies that relied on cheap, pandemic-era financing are now feeling the pressure of tightened economic conditions. Perhaps this is all a coincidence, but the evidence is mounting. Labor force participation is falling, job quality is degrading, purchasing power is shrinking, credit reliance is accelerating, and savings are vanishing. This isn't just one metric having a bad month, it is an entire constellation of pre-recession indicators lighting up simultaneously. It is like seeing the check engine light, oil pressure warning, and brake light all activate at once. You might ignore one, but you cannot ignore them all. The million-dollar question remains, why do the official numbers look so healthy when the economy feels so broken? The answer lies in the fact that the systems used to measure the economy were designed in the 1940s and have been revised in ways that often obscure reality. For example, the unemployment rate considers you employed if you work just 1 hour a week.
If you drive for a delivery app for 60 minutes, you are placed in the same category as a full-time salaried professional. Similarly, GDP counts credit-driven spending exactly the same as income-driven spending. These methodologies create blind spots where negative trends can hide. At the root of this is Goodhart's law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Once policymakers and institutions optimize for a specific number, they stop optimizing for reality. This is why your lived experience can contradict the official report. We are no longer measuring the economy, we are managing the metrics used to track it. Over time, these numbers drift further away from reality. The unemployment rate becomes about lowering the headline figure rather than improving job quality. GDP becomes about maximizing output rather than societal well-being. And inflation tracking focuses on managing the index rather than reducing your actual cost of living. This gap between measurement and reality is not accidental. It is where recessions hide until they become too obvious to ignore. Eventually, when the NBER declares a recession, it won't be news. It will simply be a confirmation of what everyone paying attention already knew.
Once you recognize this illusion, it is impossible to unsee. When media outlets celebrate job growth, ask about job quality. When they brag about wage increases, compare them to inflation. When consumer spending looks strong, check the credit data. There is always more to the story than what is being reported. The real economy leaves clues, and the current pattern, deteriorating labor markets, expanding debt, and vanishing savings, has historically preceded every major recession. The question now is not if the data will catch up, but how long it will take.